All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of To The Show Baseball Podcast presented by Beyond the Monster. I am your host, Andrew Parker. In today's episode, we are diving into the Tiger system. I got Max Alba on, and he is fresh off winning a High A Pitcher of the Week award for his performance last week. He had 6 shutout innings with only 2 hits allowed. It was his best start of the season, and he was cruising through that outing. So we do kind of talk about that a little bit. He's had a very unique journey throughout minor league baseball, so we do dive into that as well. And he's just a good guy all around to chat with. I had such a great time talking to him. So definitely worth the listen. But before I do shoot to that interview, whether you're watching me on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you get your podcast, please, please, please like, subscribe. I've said this a million times, making a huge push on YouTube. So it's free to subscribe on YouTube. So trying to get the subscriber count up on there. So if you can do me a great favor, I highly appreciate it. But without further ado, let me shoot you on to the interview with Max Alba. All right. I am joined by Max Alba, who is fresh off winning a High A Midwest League Pitcher of the Week. And that is exactly where I am starting. You had a fantastic start last week that earned you that honor. And I know you probably didn't go into the week saying you wanted to win Pitcher of the Week, but it happened. And so I want to ask you about the outing a little bit. How were you feeling during the outing? And I guess what did you feel from it?
Yeah, I mean, had a lot of stuff working for me. I kind of had a different plan going into this week than I had in weeks past. The Tigers had challenged me the week before to try to throw more diversity into my arsenal. So at the beginning of the year, I was throwing a lot more, primarily fastball slider, and I also throw a curveball and a splitter. And they tried to challenge me to throw more of my off speed, more of an evenly split than I had been doing before. And so going into that, I knew I had a plan and was just happy when I started warming up in the bullpen, and even in those first couple innings, like feeling good, throwing all 4 pitches in the zone. And I feel like that kind of just built up on itself and gave me more confidence as the outing went on to just keep filling it up and putting up zeros.
So it was your longest outing of the year. You went 6 innings. How does one? I mean, I know there was a break in between. Obviously, you did that last week. You were all, obviously the All-Star break this week. But how does one build off of a really good start like that, where you do go deep into the game? You only give up 2 hits. You everything was working that day. So how do you build off that to try to do it again?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is prioritizing recovery. So this is my first year as a starter. The last 2 years I had been a reliever with the Detroit Tigers. So going deeper into these games is new to me a little bit, because primarily the last couple years I've only been going 1 or 2 innings apiece. But what I've learned this year is the deeper you go into those outings, those recovery days, the things you do to help your body recover just become that much more important. Because even though as a starter you get more days in between when you throw, the increased workload of the innings kind of balances it out a little bit. So for me, prioritizing the recovery to make sure my body feels as ready to pitch again on the day that my name's called. So.
Yeah, and obviously, you brought up a very good point actually that I did want to ask about. Obviously you're starting full time now, and I saw this year you had come out of the bullpen for a few games. I saw you came in the 2nd inning, the 4th inning.
Yeah.
So you kind of been doing a little bit of both this year, but I know you're primarily focused on starting. But how has that been? Like, has that been a big challenge for you? Obviously, like transitioning to one from the other, and you always hear about guys going from starting to relieving in theirs, but not never, but it's a little less common to see guys going the other way. So how has that been for you?
Yeah, I think I'll say it was a little challenging at the start of the year. I faced a couple bumps in the road, just in the sense of when I was a reliever, my mindset was totally different than it has been this year, in the sense of like, when you're a reliever, you just go in, you throw your best stuff because you're not going to face a lineup more than one time. And now that I'm starting, like the other day when I went 6 innings, I was facing guys 2, even 3 times. And so what I've been trying to do is learn, all right, I'm facing lineup multiple times. I have to be able to get guys out in different ways than just one way every time, because in all levels of the minor leagues, these hitters are good enough where if you start to fall into patterns, they can pick up on that pretty easily and they can burn you on it. So for me, I feel like that's been my biggest learning curve is like, all right, I have 4 pitches. I have to be able to use all of them to get guys out instead of just using, 1 or 2 or even 3 of them. I have to be able to use multiple different pitches in multiple different sequences to get these hitters out when I have to face them 2 or 3 times. So I think like it's been good overall, very positive transition. But that's been the one thing that like I feel like I am finally starting to learn and finally starting to lean into a little bit.
And so with you now transitioning to starting, that comes with more innings, and you're already at 68 innings for the year,
Yeah.
and obviously you're not done yet. So you're already. I took a peek at it. I'm pretty sure you have thrown more competitive innings this year than you have ever, dating back to your college days, and even with summer ball included in that. So for yourself, I think you're right there. If not, you're at a career high for innings pitched in a season. Are you feeling like tired at all? Like, has fatigue been an issue? Like, I guess, how does that feel? I guess now, like eclipsing where you were previously with innings pitched.
Yeah. So this year going into it, I knew that I was going to have to, they told me I was going to be a starter. So I knew that I was going to have that increased workload. So I really tried this offseason to put a priority of training in a way more like endurance training to make sure that I was able to go deeper into games and to be able to make sure that my body was going to be able to handle the increased workload. So I wouldn't say that don't feel fatigue because obviously everybody feels fatigued over a long season like that. And I've thrown, like you said, more innings than I ever have pretty much in my life. But I would say I've done a really good job of prioritizing my recovery as well as keeping up with my lifting in season and everything. So overall, all things considered, I'd say my body feels overall pretty good. Obviously nobody feels 100% in the middle of the season, but overall I would say that part has been a pretty smooth transition actually.
Everybody's dealing with something, whether they want to admit it or not. Nobody's 100% in mid-July.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, unless you haven't pitched yet this year or something like that. But all right, so I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit. Obviously, transitioning over to starting, that also comes with, I would assume, going to a starting role. Obviously, you need a few more pitches now to go throughout the outing. So for yourself, I would assume your arsenal probably looks a little different than it did whenever you originally signed with the Tigers. But did they come to you this past offseason when they were like, hey, you're making the transition to starting? Did they give you a few pitches, or like, did they mess with the pitch mix at all? Like, what does that look like these days?
Yeah, so that's kind of funny. So when I signed with the Tigers, I only had 2 pitches and now I have 4. So I've actually doubled my arsenal from when I was in college to now. So at the end of 2023, so at the end of my first full season, I was primarily just throwing fastball slider, and they came up to me and said that they thought my movement plot would pair well with a curveball. And so when I started throwing the curveball, that was my 3rd pitch. Learned to throw it, ended up being really, really useful for me in the end of the 2023 and for the whole 2024 season. And then kind of similar situation. It's probably right around this time last year, right around the All-Star break. They really wanted me to try to add a changeup. The only thing is like I've tried to throw a changeup since I was a freshman in college. I've tried probably 300 different grips to throw a changeup, and I just could not get any of them to work for me. But the player development staff came up to me and showed me a variety of different grips that I had never seen or tried before. Started trying a couple in bullpens, and then all of a sudden found one that really felt comfortable and one that started to work for me. And then just continued to work on it more off the field, like in my bullpens than on the field, until I became enough confident in it to start throwing it in games at the end of the season last year. But going into the offseason, they were really adamant that this was a pitch that I was going to have to start throwing a lot more in all different counts. So that kind of goes into what I was talking about earlier about how they wanted me to start diversifying my arsenal. So that included throwing more change ups like early in counts and late in counts all the time, because like I said, as a reliever, I come in and I just try to throw my best pitches. And obviously my changeup right now is my fourth best pitch. So at the beginning of the year, I never wanted to throw it because I didn't think it was a good pitch. But what I've been learning too is like, even your fourth best pitch has a purpose, especially when you're facing guys multiple times, because even if maybe it's not the strikeout pitch you need, you could throw it, give the guy a different look, and then all of a sudden he sees that changeup, you throw him a heater right after that, and you get a ground ball. Like every pitch has a purpose. And so that's just something that I've learned this year, and something that the player development staff has been really on me about. So
I like the way you phrase that. Every pitch has a purpose, even
yeah,
if it's not your put away pitch or your. I like that. I feel like a lot of guys don't really talk about that much. They're like, yeah, like my fourth pitch, like you said, it's like it's not that good. Like doesn't get a lot of swing and miss, whatever. But it's got a purpose, man. I like the way you describe that. You kind of talked about it earlier. Going, it's way different. Like you're coming out of the bullpen. I've heard it's a lot of adrenaline rush. Like you're warming up, you're going in, but now starting, you try to get into a set routine. When you're throwing each week. Hopefully, what has been, I guess, the biggest adjustment to your routine now since going to starter?
The biggest thing is workload management. I've learned as a reliever, it's different because you might throw one day, get a day off, and then you're right back in the game 2 days later. As a starter, like you said, you for the most part know when you're pitching, and it's pretty much 5 or 6 days apart from each other. And one of the things that I've learned this year is when I have a light day of throwing is to truly take it light. Those recovery days are so valuable. And if you go out there and just try to do too much every single day, your body's going to start to wear down a little bit. So I think trying to use the waves of like the central nervous system when you're pitching of, okay, you go super, super high on the day that you pitch. And then that next day you need to bring it way down to let your body try to recover. And then on your bullpen day, you can ramp it back up. But then the day after your bullpen, you have to bring it right back down. Just to give your body, your arm, everything a chance to recover. So yeah, that's probably what I would say the biggest thing. The biggest difference is, as a reliever, you don't really have that luxury because you don't know when you're pitching and your name can be called multiple times a week. So then you kind of just have to go with the flow a little more. But as a starter, you do have that luxury. And for me, if I know the days that I'm throwing either in game or in bullpens, I try to plan out, all right, for the week, how much and how far do I want to throw each day to try to maximize my output on my start day. So
Yeah, no, makes a ton of sense. And I'm shooting off the field now here. They're going to be a little random here, so stay with me.
Okay.
I saw you were a Wisconsin guy.
Yeah.
You're from Wisconsin, which I don't really see too often. I'm going to be honest with you, but obviously you're a North guy, and you're playing in Western Michigan right now, which
Yep.
I did need to take a peek at the old map because I don't venture up that way too often, but they're just separated by Lake Michigan.
Yep.
I kind of knew that, but. So you're kind of closer to home. Is that something did that surprise you, I guess, like going to the Tigers and then like realizing you weren't too far away from maybe, relatives, friends, family, like whatever?
I think it's really nice. I love my family. I have a pretty big extended family. I have one brother and then my parents for my immediate family, but I have a pretty big extended family. And I always love having people in the stands that are rooting for me. It's always a really nice feeling. And when we're close to home like we play some games on the other side of the Midwest League too that are really close to Wisconsin. And whenever they come and visit it and watch the games, it's awesome. It's one of my favorites. So it's a luxury too that like I know you don't always have, because I played when I was in low A, I was in Florida, and I rarely ever had anybody come to the games because it's so far away. And I know that the higher levels with the Tigers are not as close either. So They definitely try to come as often as they can, which is a nice luxury. I really enjoy it though. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, I talked to a ton of guys out, they're playing on the East Coast and they're California guys. Like their whole family's out in California and they are
yeah,
probably as far as possibly from their parents, their like everybody. And it's like,
yeah,
I feel like you got a little lucky for now. Obviously, like you said, Toledo and all that are a little further away, but not too bad.
yeah.
Um, okay, so you have an off day every single Monday in minor league baseball. I know you had a few days off this week for the break, but every single Monday, an off day. Let's just say you're not on a bus ride going home, going to a series. You're at the apartment, whatever. What are you spending your time doing on that off day?
So we have a really good deal in Grand Rapids where uh, our GM is a family friend of one of the local golf courses, so we
Oh,
get a
there it
really
is.
good deal at the golf course. And so every Monday, if it's not pouring rain or freezing cold, I'm playing 18 holes of golf.
Honestly, it's probably the number one answer I get. It's in your pitcher, so you're in the minority if you're not
Right,
golfing.
right, right.
How is the golf scene up there in Michigan?
So it's nice. It's there's a lot of really nice courses that are in the surrounding area of Grand Rapids. I've gotten to play a couple of the nice courses around. I haven't been able to go over. They have some really nice courses like on Lake Michigan, right on the coast of the lake. I haven't been able to go over there yet, but hopefully one day we'll see.
So I do this thing too, obviously I like to do a little research on whoever I'm talking to, especially like for the first time. And, obviously I look at the Instagram and I usually when I look at some of you guys' Instagram, it's baseball, 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 maybe a picture of the girlfriend, fiance, baseball, baseball, like maybe
Yeah,
golf. Yours is a little, I think I can appreciate your Instagram game. You got your hunting, which I would assume is one of yours. You just got some like more interesting photos of you traveling, things like that. Is that something you like to do in the off season? Like, if once you hit home, like you're either hunting or you're trying to go on vacation somewhere, is that kind of sum up like when you're not training for baseball?
yeah. So I love being outside. I love to hunt. I love to fish. I grew up doing it with my dad and my brother. So anytime I get to do that, anytime I have some free time, if I'm home back home in the fall or the winter or anything like that, I love doing that. But yeah, so I do that, and then also I like to play basketball or football or whatever back home. I used to play those in high school too, so those are I just enjoy being outside and doing all that stuff. So
Hey, I can appreciate it, man.
yeah,
It is, and I'm sure up in Wisconsin, it's absolutely beautiful, and there's tons of good spots up there too. So
yeah. Until
I gotta
about
get up there
it,
more.
it's beautiful until about November, and then I wouldn't go up there until about April or May again.
Okay, fair enough. It's just like the Northeast, man. It's
Yeah,
horrible in the wintertime, so I get it. All right, I got two questions off for you, and I will let you slide here. I kind of told you this before we started recording, so I apologize if I make you repeat yourself here again. But I like to show some love to where you came from, kind of like where who made you you, as in terms of your baseball career in college there. And I know you had a little bit more of an interesting route from UNC to Liberty. So I guess I want to ask, like, you're the very first guy I've had on the podcast from there. I've had some UNC guys, but what was it like playing it? I mean, I'll let you do both of them, I guess. So, like, what was it like playing, in the ACC and then going to Liberty and finishing out?
yeah. So obviously, my time at UNC, we kind of talked about earlier, was a little bit unorthodox. I had Tommy John my freshman year. So I didn't get to play at all. And then my sophomore year was 2020, which was COVID. So I threw like 5 or 7 innings and then didn't get to play any more baseball that year. So then I was going into my junior year and I basically hadn't played any competitive collegiate baseball, which was, I don't know if anybody's ever been in that boat before, but it was definitely interesting. I didn't really have any experience to draw on going into my third year of college. And then going into my third year, our head coach retired, and my pitching coach took the head coaching job at UNC Charlotte. So that also kind of threw a loop in things because all of a sudden I had a brand new pitching coach and a different head coach than I had thought I was going to have going in from high school. But I absolutely loved going to school at UNC. It was a really great experience from the perspective of it taught me how to deal with adversity for the first time. In high school, I played football, baseball, and basketball, and I was first team All State in all three. Which, so like, it was one of those things where I hadn't really faced true adversity before, and then I get on the stage in an ACC school, a really, really good powerhouse baseball school. And then all of a sudden I fail for the first time and I fail a couple more times and had to learn how to deal with that mentally. But looking back on that now, the experiences that I experience now, I draw on constantly now that I'm in my third year of professional baseball. So, like, from that perspective, I'm very, very thankful for my experiences and any hardships I had going at UNC. Um, but it was just it was an unorthodox 3 years there for sure. Left on good terms though, and ended up going to Liberty. They had been in contact with me pretty much from the first day that I entered the transfer portal. Coach Jackson was the head coach there at the time. He's actually back at UNC now, which is interesting, as an assistant coach. And then Matt Williams was the pitching coach. He's over at Coastal right now, so fresh off the College World Series appearance. And my 1 year there was awesome. I mean, the coaches were great. The dudes were great. We played good baseball. We won the ASUN regular season. It was a little bit of some ups and downs. I started the year as starting and kind of had some hardships again, but then partway through the year, they put me in the bullpen and all of a sudden started to have some really good outings towards the end of the year and then into the regional that we played in University of Florida that year. And then after my I graduated after my 4th year from Liberty, and the Tigers gave me a chance as a UDFA, so I signed with them.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, very first guy from Liberty that I've had on. I'm gonna take that one.
Nice.
Very very cool. Path and everything. I always say this: like, you come across guys all across minor league baseball. No two paths are the same. Nothing's linear either. It's like, you could. It's every different direction people come from, every age, I mean, it is cool to hear guys' background and the stories on how they got there. So. All right, I got one question left for you here, and I will let you slide. So, obviously, you are fresh off winning a Player of the Week award, and for your start last week, it was one of the best starts of your season, I would assume. So, for you, obviously, we are heading towards the end of the season. We are post All-Star break. We got like 2.5 months maybe left. I mean, if that. So it's coming to a close pretty quickly. For yourself, do you have any goals in mind that you want to reach by the end of the year, whether they're statistical, physical, personal, like anything you want to hit?
So for me, it's interesting to look for statistical goals. I would say my goals are a little more simple. My goal from the beginning of the year was to make it, with the increased workload, was to make it through the whole season healthy. I knew that I was probably going to be doubling my workload from what it was last year to this year. So I figured if I could make it through the whole season healthy, that was going to be a huge win. And obviously I wanted to have a good year too, but I wanted to show the Tigers that I'm able to be a starter physically. Like, I can physically handle the workload. So I would say that that's obviously still a goal for me. And then another goal is to just, I don't know if I have a specific numbers goal, but it's just to keep getting a little bit better, and I'll just keep perfecting my craft. Obviously, I'm not a guy that goes and throws 100 miles an hour, but I'm a guy that I go out and I have 4 different pitch shapes that I can use, and I throw a decent amount of strikes. So I want to continue to learn about myself and how my pitching style plays in the league, and continue to get better so I can have more outings like I did this week. I think my style of pitching is a little bit more not quite as like a power pitcher where I'm just going to come at you all the time with the fastball. But I definitely think that I have a superpower, and that is to throw 4 different shapes in the zone. So I just need to keep perfecting that each week, and I think that would be considered a goal achieved.
I love the superpower thing there. That's cool. All right, Max. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, wishing you the best of luck here as we move forward in 2025 and for the rest of the season. But thank you so much again for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate it.